Our memories shape our perception of the world, and therefore dictate how we reason and act. But are they as reliable as we think? Today, we will discuss the fascinating cognitive phenomena known as the peak and rule and duration neglect. Remember, understanding our own thought processes is essential to improve our decision making in life. In this episode, we'll embark on an entertaining journey through the mind's curious ways of remembering things. The human mind is a labyrinth of intricate mysteries. Before explaining today's cognitive biases, we must first explain the duality between the experiencing self and the remembering self. Imagine yourself at a lively amusement park, basking in the thrill of a roller coaster ride. As you twist and turn through exhilarating loops, your experiencing self is at the forefront of the action. It is a version of you that revels in the present moment, embracing the sensations, adrenaline rushes, and stomach-flipping excitement. It is a part of you which enjoys the taste of ice cream and cold sensation in the mouth, feels nervous before an important event, and feels pleasure when receiving a relaxing massage with soft background music. The experiencing self craves instant gratification, relishing in the here and now. Your experiencing self is the one responsible for assessing the moment's sensations. If I were to ask you, how are you feeling right now? Or are you comfortable in your seat? Your experiencing self is the one who will be in charge of answering. Our bodies have hundreds of millions of sensory neurons which are continuously analyzing signals about the world and feeding it into the brain. Each of your eyes has approximately 95 million rods and 5 million cones to process light signals, which allow you to see the beautiful world around us and, most importantly, StatCat videos on YouTube. There is a lot of information processing and compressing, but ultimately, your experiencing self is the one who is enjoying the bright colors on the screen. It is clear, however, that you cannot be asked to remember every single pixel of every frame of this video. That would require an immense amount of concentration and memory capacity. Instead, your brain does a lot of clever tricks to convert your experiences into memories. This leads us to the other character in our minds, our remembering selves. As the name would suggest, our remembering self is the part of our mind tasked with pulling out memories into our stream of consciousness. Of course, we are not objective beings, so these memories also come with an assortment of emotions and judgments of how we felt during these events and our overall impressions. Unlike the experiencing self, the remembering self focuses on constructing a coherent narrative of the past, selecting key moments to be preserved in memory. It doesn't dwell on every second of the experience, but rather forms a distilled version influenced by various cognitive biases and factors. When speaking about decision making, our remembering selves are the ones in the driver's seat, because they are the ones that will guide our ideas and thinking processes depending on the judgments about the emotions associated with our memories of previous events. Think of it this way. The experiencing self lives for the moment, indulging in the immediate sensations, emotions, and pleasures. On the other hand, the remembering self acts as a curator, selectively preserving and distilling our experiences into a narrative that aligns with our personal biases, desires, and the need for a coherent story. For example, when deciding whether to go to another concert or not, it is a remembering self that will pull up the memory of the previous concert, along with an assessment of how much fun we had, and then decide whether it's worth it or not to repeat the experience. To some extent, this is independent of the actual amount of fun we experienced before. Therefore, understanding how our memories are formed is crucial when we want to improve our rational decision making. So join me in today's episode of StatCat, where we use statistics to catalyze our decision making processes. Learning about the process of memory formation can help us make better decisions in the future and also help us maximize our enjoyment of events to have even better memories. Let's start with the punchline. The way we remember our overall feelings about an event is an average between the most intense feelings, which we will call the peak, and the last emotion experienced during the event. That is, roughly half of our emotional perception is taken from the moment of deepest sentiment, and the other half from the final moment. Interestingly, the duration or the overall quality of the experience may fade into the background. Of course, this is a generalization, and we always have the capacity to override the default mechanism and distill our memories to get even more critical insights, but this requires focus and concentration. So, most of the time our brain just goes along with the peak and rule. One of the most famous and influential studies regarding the peak and rule was a 1993 paper in Psychological Science by Daniel Kahneman, Barbara Fredrickson, Charles Schreiber, and Donald Riedelmeier titled "When More Pain is Preferred to Less, Adding a Better End." In this study, the test subjects immersed their hand in a plastic tub of cold water which was 14 degrees Celsius. This temperature is quite unpleasant, but endurable, and the subjects had to withstand the discomfort for 60 seconds. The subjects were asked to rate their discomfort on a scale of 1 to 10 as a function of time, and on average their experience looked like so. Essentially, the discomfort kept building up the longer their hand was immersed. After the experiment, the test subjects were offered a warm towel to dry themselves. On the other hand, literally speaking, the test subjects were asked to immerse their hand in the tub with cold water at the same temperature of 14 degrees Celsius for 60 seconds, just as in the other trial. But after the 60 seconds, room temperature water was added to the tub such that the temperature would increase by 1 degree Celsius to reach a temperature of 15 degrees. The test subjects would then have to hold their hand in the 15-degree water for another 30 seconds. The overall experience was also rated afterwards, and the participants on average noticed that discomfort being eased noticeably. For those wondering, indeed there was some randomization in the order of the short and long trial and whether they experienced a short or long trial with their left or their right hand. After both trials, the test subjects were told that they needed to repeat one of the two trials again, and they were asked which one they would prefer to do. Surprisingly, around 80% of the participants answered that they would prefer the longer one. According to the shown diagrams, this makes perfect sense. The average between the peak and the end is lower in the longer trial than it is in the shorter trial. The longer trial receiving roughly a 7 as a remembered discomfort average, whereas the short trial receives an overall 9. If we think rationally, which is what this channel is all about, preferring the longer trial should be very surprising because the beginning of both trials are identical. You have to put your hand in the cold water with the same discomfort for 60 seconds, with the only difference being that the longer trial has a little bit of a less painful end, such that your remembering self concludes that the overall experience was actually preferable. In fact, we see another cognitive bias occurring during this experiment, and that is the phenomenon known as duration neglect. Our brains are lazy. Well, let's say efficient. Our remembering self does not do a summation or an integral over time of the overall pain or happiness involved in an event. Once we reach some level of satisfaction, which granted, it does take some time to accumulate the pleasure or the discomfort, it would appear that the remembering self does not care for how long we were in this state of peak pleasure. It will give the event the same rating regardless of the time spent on the experience. Duration neglect suggests that we tend to overlook or underestimate the impact of the duration of an experience when recalling it. So if you ever find yourself on holiday and it is raining, those rainy days might have felt like an eternity while you were enduring them, but once you're reminiscing about your vacation, they might become a mere blip on the radar. Instead, you'll focus more on the overall highlights and pleasurable moments, allowing them to shape your memory. The implications are also quite deep, and there seems to be a consensus that what we want to do is give preference to the remembering self over the experiencing self. We prefer to experience events which are going to be very pleasantly remembered, even if they are short, rather than having some mediocrely pleasant event that lasts a very long time. Conversely, if it's about pain or any other negative feeling, paradoxically, we would rather have a small amount of pain for a long amount of time as long as we can avoid disastrous peaks of pain, even if they are short-lived. This opens up some very interesting and philosophical questions of what it means to enjoy life or to experience pain. Feel free to comment below your own opinions. In conclusion, our memories are not mere snapshots of events, but intricate constructions influenced by the peak end rule and duration neglect. Here are some tips to exploit the peak end rule and duration neglect. These can be equally applied to maximize your own experiences in life or those of others you care about, for example, your customers or consumers of your products. 1. Create peak moments intentionally. Recognize that peak moments play a significant role in shaping memories. Plan and design experiences or events with specific highlights that stand out. In a world of finite budgets and resources, this means that it is typically worth dropping the quality a little throughout the whole event at the expense of one big memorable peak. Customers in a restaurant might be willing to ignore the slightly outdated furniture if you bring in the food with fireworks or on top of a sizzling stone. 2. Amplify positive emotions. The process of memory formation is also helped when the memories are associated with the emotions. By intensifying positive emotions, you can enhance the overall satisfaction and create more memorable and vivid memories. Incorporate elements that evoke joy, excitement, or happiness. If it's an event you care about how it will be remembered, don't be shy to engineer in stimuli that will evoke pleasant feelings. And number 3, provide a memorable conclusion. Put an extra effort into the concluding part of an experience. Always look at your friends and customers in the eyes and smile. Ensure it leaves a lasting positive impression. Consider incorporating elements such as a grand finale, a meaningful takeaway, or a sense of accomplishment. So, next time you encounter a memorable moment, embrace the emotions it evokes and make the ending count, because that's what your memory will hold on to. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed, please consider subscribing and liking to help out with the algorithm.